Have you ever wondered where the problems in the world today would exist if we had deeper connection to ourselves, others, and the environment and acted from that place? Welcome to the Conscious Action Podcast with your host, Brian Berneman, who believe that connection is the key to taking conscious action as individuals and creating a better world. We are here to raise awareness and inspire meaningful action by sharing stories, knowledge, and conversations with thought leaders and change makers. From sustainability to well-being and everything related to conscious living, our mission is to empower you to be the change that you want to see in the world.
Welcome everyone to a new episode of the Conscious Action Podcast. I am Brian Berneman, your host. And for this episode, I wanted to explore how we can actually bridge spirituality and ancient wisdom teachings with modern science. This, for me, a lot of it has been through my practices of learning about ancient wisdom traditions. A lot of it was through Tibetan Buddhism, as well as my studies and my postgrad studies in neuroscience. So let's explore all of that. As always, I invite you just to arrive, to be here, perhaps take a deep breath and join us here. My experience with bridging this has been something that actually evolved through the years. I studied a lot my understandings and my personal practice through meditation, Tibetan yoga, sound healing, a lot of different things that were actually just part of my personal and spiritual evolution. And then when I finished my studies, I went and I did my postgrad in neuroscience, and that gave me a lot more understanding on how the brain is working and the research that it's being done. And through the years now, in the last 17 years, there's been much more research on the benefits and the impact of these practices like mindfulness, meditation, breathwork. There's been a lot of different research being done. So now we're able to bring a lot of these seemingly different worlds together. So when we bring together that which we feel and what we understand, we can start to also get closer to who we are, because we need a lot of times that logical part of it. So I remember a lot of times that when I was studying neuroscience, I started to get better understanding on the patterns, the tendencies, the behaviors, and how our beliefs shape things, and how our brain keeps on repeating the patterns, keeps on doing the same thing over and over again. So this was something that was really interesting, having that understanding and how we can actually bring together these worlds. Because the more that I studied the brain, the more that I realized that the wisdom existed long before we could actually measure it. This is the place where ancient wisdom or modern science meet ancient wisdom, because that meeting point is really important, because we live nowadays mostly on a very logical society, science-based society, and the more that we're able to prove how ancient wisdoms and those traditions intuitively they understood this just with their intuition or with their knowledge, even if they couldn't fully measure it or prove it. Neuroscience now is validating all of this. So that mind-body connection, how meditation, how breathwork, how different types of movement can affect the nervous system, how energy and vibration, like just linking frequencies with more coherence, with brainwave states, the understanding on presence and awareness and its impact on neuroplasticity. Those things now is the way that science is proving that which for thousands of years different traditions have been practicing. So, there's been things that studies about how through meditation, the brain, the prefrontal cortex, and the amygdala, how they change. There's been studies on breathing and the vagus nerve. There's been, different understandings on how our mental health is affected by connection with others, with, our communities, with our families. So it's been really important having this space where, understand that science now is explaining the how these things work, but spirituality and ancient wisdom teachings are there to remind us why they matter and how, not how, but why we should practice, why keep on exploring, why experimenting. And now science is showing, oh, okay, this is actually what's happening. This is, what's actually being measured. And it's so great because now we're able to integrate all of this more and more into our lives. And there's a lot of different practical ways, that we can integrate into our everyday life all of these different practices or different understandings to be well. Because that's, at the end of the day, really, for me, what matters. There's a lot of really interesting things, but if I'm not applying them, a lot of it is irrelevant. I remember one of my teachers used to tell me that intelligence is good, wisdom is important. Because intelligence is there, like he used to say, it didn't exist now, all of the technology that now exists, but he used to say, like you just go to a computer or to a library, all of the knowledge is there. But if you're not able to apply it into your own life, it's irrelevant. Until the moment that we're able to understand it, to integrate it, to analyze it, to experience it, it's not the most important thing. So we need to bring this into our everyday life. And one of the ways that we can do that is when we start the day, starting more consciously, perhaps with a mindfulness or a movement practice that helps us to activate more and more the parasympathetic nervous system, especially if we are just after that, we are go with work or different things that we need to do. It's important to create the moment so that we can get to that place of that understanding of how we can self-regulate. A lot of the time, one of the things that I do through the day is whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm using the breath as the bridge for awareness. So a lot of times, like it can just be about paying attention to it, or it can be about creating short micro practices of conscious breathing that allows you to move from thing to thing. I recommend and suggest a lot to people, like when you finish a meeting or when you're about to move into something else, take 3 deep breaths, even if it's just that, creating the space in between so that whatever it is that you were doing is left behind, and whatever it is that you're moving forward towards, you're able to be present with that. So there's different ways of using the breath as a bridge for being present. Connecting with nature is always a really important one. So whenever possible, like spending time outdoors helps us to regulate our brain function and allows us to be more emotionally balanced, allows some of the energy in the body, especially with the electromagnetic system that we have, allowing when we're grounding for that energy to go down into the earth. So again, just rebalancing ourselves. And whenever it is that we're able to practice gratitude and compassion, that helps us to rewire the brain because it creates another perspective of what is happening in our lives. A lot of times we are not in that state or that understanding. So whenever we are able to bring more gratitude, more compassion, that is wonderful. And You know, we don't need to choose either spirituality or science. We don't need to choose ancient wisdom or modernity. We can stay and dance between all of it. That's, understand how to live more consciously, blending all of this. Because, we are wired for connection. And when we find that, it doesn't really matter if it's from one perspective and another perspective. We need to bring as many perspectives as possible all together all of the time. So, nowadays, the fact that science is able to measure so many things is beautiful because it validates the power of ancient wisdom practices. It validates a lot of the things that for thousands of years different traditions have been saying. And that is really important. And as a reminder, once again, true transformation happens when knowledge actually becomes an embodied experience, when it becomes wisdom. So let's aim for more wisdom and not so much for intelligence or knowledge. It is not the same. So I invite you just to, reflect and perhaps decide or choose, what practice could you bring into your daily life, more, or introducing it, a practice that comes from these ancient wisdom teachings. And perhaps don't even put a label into it. It doesn't matter if it comes from a specific tradition or not. For your own practice, just introducing, like if it's breathing, it doesn't matter if the technique is coming from one tradition or another. It is important to honor traditions. That's not what I'm saying. I honor the traditions that I have learned. But the traditions sometimes can also keep us in a place that other people are not able to connect with it because that tradition is foreign for them. So because it's an unknown or something different, they might not be able to do it. It is very different to say someone, to do a yoga posture and talk in Sanskrit or share the names in Sanskrit of the postures or the movements instead of being able to understand that perhaps that person just needs to be say to move and to do a posture without any specific name. So we can honor the traditions, we can honor the wisdom by bringing also different ways of bringing it into modern life. So I invite you to see what do you want to introduce or do more of, more consciously. And as always, thank you for being here. Thank you for practicing. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being curious with yourself, with your experience, with what are the possibilities that are there. There's a lot of different research happening that you can see. I have seen so many now as well around sound healing that is amazing, that proves a lot of the benefits of sound healing. A lot of the quantum entanglement teachings are showing a lot of the things that systemic family constellation teachings have been saying as well. There's so much more that is there available now for those of us that are interested in it. And for those that are not interested and just interested in the experience, great as well. But there's so much power in bringing all of this together, because the meeting point of science and spirituality is not in the lab and it's not in a temple. It is in our awareness, in our body. We are that meeting point. So, as always, let me know what resonated with you. What did you hear? What did you learn? What are you going to start introducing more and more into your daily life? Thank you for being here. Comment whatever it is that you're finding this episode. Until next time, bye!
What did you like the most about this episode? Take a moment to think about what change you can make in your life today.
Share your conscious action on social media using hashtag conscious action and tagging @consciousaction so we can celebrate your impact on the world and create a ripple effect.
One easy action we would love for you to take right now is to share, like, and subscribe to this podcast. This will help us get these messages out into the world and inspire more people to take conscious action in their own lives, contributing to the better world we hope for.